The Iron Game Chalk Talk podcast is brought to you by the following sponsors: EliteForm.com, IgnitionAPG.com, PlayUSA at PLAEUSA.com, and Sorinex Exercise Equipment at Sorinex.com. And now, the Iron Game Chalk Talk podcast. Welcome to Iron Game Chalk Talk with your host, Ron McKeefery.
Every time our athletes walk into this weight room, they're going to be pushed to the max.
Let's go! Everything you got!
On this podcast, hear Coach McKeefery's straight talk about training, featuring the top strength and conditioning professionals from around the world. And now, here's your host, Ron McKeefery.
Guys, welcome back to Iron Game Chalk Talk. I'm your host, Ron McKeefery, and this is episode number 145. Super excited to have Bobby Smith with us. Bobby is the owner, founder of Reach Your Potential Training up in New Jersey. And Bobby and Adam Feit started this performance facility quite a few years back and had just been killing it ever since. They're doing a great job, not just with their athletes in their community, but starting to reach out nationally with presentations and products, and just came out with a fantastic product, complete jump training, a coach's guide for jump training, and got a chance to review this recently, and it is a phenomenal product. I mean, they've done a great job of being able to categorize exercises, create some zones and some teaching progressions for them, and can't really recommend it enough. I think it's a fantastic deal. So I wanted to have them come on, talk about it, share some of the reasons why they did it, what the gap in learning was out there, and just why they felt like it was needed. And I think it was a needed product. And so really commend them for that. Talk about Bobby's journey and why he went into performance training and starting ripped up there, and just some great nuggets in this episode. So I know you're going to enjoy it. Before you do, I want to make sure we recognize our sponsor for this episode, Sorinex. Got a chance to see these guys just recently up at the Combine and just walk away, not just a better strength coach every time I get a chance to interact with them, but just a better man. I mean, they're just phenomenal guys. Bert and the gang, Dan McKim, if you saw any of his videos, just phenomenal people and inspiring, man. They're just inspiring guys. And so so excited that they're a part of this show, but got an opportunity that I'm fired up about. Bert asked me to speak at this year's Summer Strong, and I got a chance to go last year. It was the first time I got a chance to go, just with my schedule and everything, and walked away simply blown away by the experience. It's not a clinic, it's not a conference, it is an experience, and everything that they got going on down there is fantastic. So if you're in the area or you have the weekend free, I don't think this is a hope I can get to or I should get to. This is a must get to. I think you need to go to this. Not only do you walk away a better strength coach, but you walk away inspired by so many phenomenal people. So go to summerstrongexpo.com, register there. Like I said, you will walk away truly inspired by what we do and ready to take on the world. So check that out. Super excited about this episode. Sit back and enjoy, and we'll see you on the other side. All right, guys, welcome back to Iron Game Chalk Talk. Excited to have a buddy of mine, Bobby Smith, with us. He's the owner, founder of Reach Your Potential Training up in Jersey, right?
Yep, New Jersey, Hidden Falls.
Yeah, and so Bobby and I go back. We have obviously a mutual friend, and Adam Feit. He was on the show, episode number 2, I think.
Number 2?
He was back way back when. So
yeah, he's a big dog, so he gets that.
We're growing up together, That's the big part of it. But man, I appreciate you coming on the show, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It definitely is an honor to be on here.
Bobby, I want to get into your journey, man, because you were quite an accomplished athlete, and then you've decided you've gotten into the performance side of things. Talk a little bit about your journey and kind of what's led you to create Reach Your Potential.
All right. Well, it all started when I was in high school. I was a 3-sport athlete. And then, I got a letter in the mail for a sports performance gym, when I was in high school back, 2001 when I graduated. So I started training with them when I was a junior in high school. It's called Institution of Athletic Performance, IPA, out in Roxbury, New Jersey. And right from then, I saw results right away. I was getting faster. I was getting stronger. And I just knew, like, this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I just really appreciate the results that I got from these coaches there. And right from there, I was addicted to the weight room, saw results, and had a great, I started lifting with them when I was a junior, and then I played basketball my senior year, but I went to them privately, and then I had an amazing senior year of high school throwing the javelin. I was a national champ, state champ, and right from there, that early success, got me hooked to the weight room. Then when I went off to college, I was a two-sport athlete at Monmouth University. I played football, captain of the football team, All-American javelin thrower, but I had 4 surgeries. So I tore my ACL, I tore my meniscus in the same knee, I had Tommy John surgery in my elbow, and then I broke my ankle my senior year of football. So I was a mess.
Jeez.
Yeah. And ironically, I fell in love with my physical therapist and married her. So when I was spending so much time with her, it was only, matter of time that it happened. So from there, I felt like I lifted heavy, but I didn't do any movement training as much when I was in college. And I felt like, we stayed in the weight room for like 2.5 hours, got super strong, but my movement wasn't where it should have been. I was a little bit heavier. Right now I'm like 210. At that time I was like 228 playing running back. And, and that's definitely the mistakes I felt like I learned that I wanted to help the high school kids. And then after I graduated 2006, I was asked to be part of Olympic development program for, the javelin. And right there I met Tom Puskis. I met like some, elite coaches, and I figured out where I wanted to go train. So I hooked up with a guy called Todd Reese. He's out in California. And from there, 2007, 2008, we had a great training group. And that training group was called RIPT. His name was Reese, so it was Reach Your Potential Training. So it's just 4 guys that we were out there, young, just graduated college, all same goal to get to the Olympics. And it was just, that was when I really became, a track and field athlete, I felt like. I always was like a football player throwing the javelin, and then at that time I became a track and field athlete. I was fortunate enough to win the 2008 Olympic trials, but I did not qualify for the Olympics, so I didn't throw far enough to go to the Olympics. But it got me into the Olympic Training Center. So in 2009, I was a full-time resident at the Olympic Training Center under Coach Dan Path. And that just, that's when I learned how to run properly. And at that point, I was like, man, I wish I learned this stuff high school when I was in college, so I can actually move. I can actually run fast, not just be strong, but, to be able to, accelerate out. And I was like, this is how I want to train all high school athletes. So
you went from finishing up as an athlete to starting, how did Reach Your Potential go from that little group of 4 to, this fantastic facility now?
So after 2009, I came back to New Jersey, and I was still training, and my wife, she had her own physical therapy practice. So I literally just handpicked their best athletes. Mm-hmm. So, I had 7 female athletes that were all Division I athletes right now. Now 6 of them are seniors this year.
Wow.
So they were like juniors, seniors in high school. And I was just, I did it kind of part-time, train them a little bit, but still focused on my training. And then 2011, I tore my ACL, my 5th surgery throwing. And then after that, I just looked at my wife and I was like, it's time to start it for real. Right. So we looked at facilities in the area, and we just found this one facility. What I wanted was at least 40 yards so I could, and I wanted a cement wall where I can just throw med balls against.
Right.
So we got to this facility, and it had that, and then they're like, well, we have another backspace. Would you want that too? So I was like, yeah, now we did it right. So we had 60 yards. We have from wall to wall 60 yards. One side's full cement, and it's just storage for American Red Cross, so we can, blast the music, slam med balls, do what we want from that. So I had the facility, and my experience is a little unique where I got my degree in special education. So I am a teacher. I know my strengths, I know my weaknesses, and I knew I needed someone that had the education to start this with.
Sure.
So I put out an ad in the NCAA. I got over 125, applicants.
Crazy.
And I would say probably 15 were good. So the 15, one of the strength coaches from the Olympic Training Center, he shot me out some questions. He's like, ask these 10 questions. And these 10 questions, he's like, you can really separate who's, knows their stuff or who's just, doesn't get it yet.
Right.
So from that, it took people probably week, 2 weeks to answer these questions.
What were some of the questions?
I wanted to see how they developed the program. Take me through a 12-week program. And what I knew was I wanted to be one of the top female strength coaches. So I want them to be Olympic sports, not just football, because I knew I had a football background. I could be that guy if I needed to. But I really love training female athletes. Mm-hmm. And I just respond better. And so I wanted to see their program styling. Is it just, copy from what they do with the football players?
Right.
Or is it different from how you train an athlete? And so, that was one thing that really stood out because I see that they were just, unbalanced programs, a lot of pushes, not that much posterior chain. And my wife being a physical therapist, she just harps on, posterior chain. We got to get the female strong in the hamstrings, glutes. You can't just they're very quad dominant already. So,
So you start the facility, and you hire Adam Feit.
Well, that got me to where. So then after those, I had about 3 or 4 guys that were good, and then I narrowed it down. I asked one guy to be a part of it. He didn't want to leave the college field, so then I kind of started recruiting. So I would go out to college websites, and I wanted someone that was a college athlete.
Right.
I just feel, college athletes are different. And if we're going to train athletes, I feel like you need to be an athlete at one point.
Agreed.
I wanted someone that had big-time experience. I wanted someone that had their, degree in the field because I didn't have mine. Master's ideally.
Right.
So those were like the 3 things that I felt like I needed as in a partner. And I was, trying to get out college coaches. None of them really wanted to leave that to come start their own. I mean, it was starting from scratch,
right.
Ron. Like, walls weren't even painted. I had some equipment, and then I put out another ad in the NCAA, kind of changed the wording a little bit, and boom, I got, the right people, and Adam's resume just stood out right away. Carolina Panthers, he was at Louisville, head strength coach, and I was just like, I looked at my wife and I was like, we're flying this guy in. And so I emailed him right away and flew him in that weekend, and it was it. Like, it was just a great fit right from the start.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
he's a good coach. You're a great coach, and the facility has taken off. And what's really cool about you guys' journey together has been that it's branched out beyond just the 4 walls of the facility. Now,
yes,
you've spoken quite a bit. Since then, you're just now releasing a product, your first product, I think. That's the Coach's Guide to Jump Training. And I saw you guys present on this. I think it was the Louisville clinic. I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah, I presented at the NCAA, yeah.
But you guys did a phenomenal job of just kind of breaking down plyometric training and kind of and systematizing it. And I'm all about systems. I love systems. I think that's how you kind of – you're allowed to be creative within a system if you're allowed for that. But having a path and a plan, I think, is important. And so I kind of want to dive into that a little bit. I mean, you're working with youth athletes. I have a son that's a pretty decent little wrestler. So training him versus training what I've always trained is 2 totally different things. At what age do you feel? Because you're seeing the spectrum now. You're seeing the elite athlete, and you're seeing the guy that can barely walk and chew gum at the same time.
Right.
What age is just the proper age to start kind of plyometric training, jump training?
We feel we have what we call a junior rep program, where it's the middle schools, 6th, 7th, and 8th. We do see some 5th graders, but that's more, I would say, females because they develop a little bit sooner. And right from there, we just want to develop the foundation. And it's just mastering the couple basic mechanics of the RDL. I mean, if someone told me when I was first starting out how hard it is to teach someone to hip hinge right from the get-go, I mean, and that's what, when we have some young coaches come in here and they're like, all right, blah, blah, blah. I was like, all right, teach me how to RDL. Well, you got to do this. I was like, all right, well, you have a 14-year-old female girl that's never done that before.
Right.
How are you going to explain that to her?
Right.
How are you going to break it down to where saying 3 things or less that she's going to understand that?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing is get the hip hinge, RDL. Then it's getting the squat position.
Mm-hmm.
Making sure that they can sit back on the heels, that the knees aren't shooting in. The knees aren't going over the toes. And those 2 things, if we can get them to understand those movements at that age, I feel like it's a win-win.
And so you'll kind of start 6th grade, and good. I'm glad you brought up the hip hinge because I thought that was really well done in the book and talking about really what we're talking about is the athletic position. Getting in a good athletic position, which translates pretty much every single sport that's out there. And you're right. I mean, for something that is so fundamentally important in everything that we do, athletes are having a hard time doing it. And so, you talked about 3 cues there. What would be, 3 kind of cues that you're giving? Because, I would venture to say that you would agree with me that those same 3 cues and that same breakdown in the hip hinge it's not just a 6th grader problem. That's a freshman in college. That's a senior in college a lot of times. So what are some of the coaching cues that you use to kind of get them?
First thing we say, you stand up tall, slight bend the knees. So slight bend the knees, and then now I want you to reach back and push your butt back. So you push your butt back, that your pressure's on your heels, that you can be able to wiggle your toes, and then you're going to drop down. So head right in line, with the spine, and just drop down, keep that back flat. And, I am a huge visual learner, so I'd rather just sit there and show them and then them start to develop it. Right. Now, if we have an athlete struggling with that, we'll usually bring them to the wall and help them push their butt back towards the wall. Right. And we find that helps them sit back more. Instead of, the common mistake is that they squat. Yep. They don't get that stretch in the hamstrings. So having them a target to push their butt back to the wall, we find helps them develop that.
Yeah. I think that goes into something that I talk about and I've talked about on the show before is athletes are there's 3 ways to learn, right? There's the auditory version, and instruction, which there's some athletes like my son. That's what he's all about. You got to explain it to him, Yeah. But then there's most athletes they've learned visually because they've learned off tape, their whole life. They've watched film their whole life, especially at the elite level. But then there's also that kinesthetic version. Instruction where you have to put them and touch and feel and so using the wall.
And I'll put my hands on their hips and just rotate them.
Yep.
Just boom. And then all of a sudden they're like, that's it. And I'm like, that's, and as an athlete myself, you got to feel it. I got to feel it before I can coach it and then teach it.
No question. And so, with our coaches, that's exactly what we do is we the instruction part of that is threefold. It's making sure that you're doing that whenever we're teaching a new exercise or we're implementing something new. I want all 3 versions because I want to collect the whole. I want to reach the entire group, and so I couldn't agree more with you. You got into in the book, and what I thought was really cool was the 4 categories. You broke it down, and this is kind of I think it was adapted by Boyle, where there's a jump, there's a hop, there's a bound.
Right.
And then you kind of created a 4th category, which is the hybrid category. Talk a little bit about the difference between the jump, hop, bound, but then really kind of dig into the hybrid.
So with the hybrid, we felt like in sport, nothing's controlled. So with that, we want to get them in an environment where they're doing something different than their traditional, vertical, horizontal, or, rotational plane. So we wanted to combine it. And that, you can see that the eyes go up, they start thinking a little bit, and then they can handle that, combining the hops or the bounds or, jumping vertical, going into that long jump. And we just felt like as an athlete, we need to challenge them a little bit more mentally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, talk about some examples of hybrid jump training then.
So one of the, with us, it's a lot about the landing. So, we've done that where, see how high we can jump, see how far we can jump, and not really worried about the traditional landing position. So we wanted to focus more on them to be able to hold that single leg position. Now, once they can hold that position, now we can challenge them going into the hybrids. So, for example, we're going into a bound where we're jumping over to the left jumping back, landing on 2, going into a long jump.
Mm-hmm.
So we felt like with the bounds with our athletes, it helps their change of direction so much better. Because now they can hold that eccentric load on that leg and transfer it into that power position.
Sure.
So with the bounding, with the hopping, switching the exercises up, going into a long jump with that, I feel like it translates into the movement portion a lot.
Well, that's sport, isn't it?
Yeah.
And, there's Robert Dos Remedios, who's been on the show, is a good friend of mine. He always has the great quote that he's obsessed with brakes, and being able to decelerate and change direction. And I couldn't agree with you more. I think that's an important factor that you have to make sure that you're programming in. The first time they're doing it under extreme loads and extreme speeds. And that's a recipe for disaster, You talk, from your 4 categories, you got to go into 4 zones. I mean, and you put a color scheme to it. You got a green, a yellow, I think an orange, and a red, right?
Yes.
Green, yellow, orange, and red. And so kind of talk a little bit about how you've broken that down and you've adapted Prilipin's kind of loading parameters with those categories, those zones.
So, and that's what we felt like there was nothing out there, and how this product is going to be a game changer in for the jumps is – why not? We're looking for power development. So why not translate it what you're going to do with the Olympic lifts? So many times we get the athletes coming back with their college programs and it's, 3 sets of 10s on jumps.
Mm-hmm.
But they wouldn't do that with Olympic lifts.
Right.
So it was only, that we feel like common sense we're looking for power development. So why not use Prilipin's chart to do the same thing?
Right.
So with the zones, obviously it's less weight, like in the Olympic lift, so you're going to be able to do more reps. But this is worrying about the takeoff, worrying about the landing, mastering those mechanics, especially for the first month, because our program's usually a 3-month program. So that first month is, what we incorporated was the snap down. We were at a Rutgers clinic, and their strength coach, Eddie, just did a tremendous job on it. And Adam and I just look at ourselves, and it was like that aha moment that now we're asking them to get the RDL position, but now we're asking to get it to them in speed.
Right.
And that's when we saw some of our athletes, especially we'd like to incorporate a lot of the single leg, hop versions in our program. And with these young girls, their knees, valgus, boom, right in when they're looking. And then we're just like, snap down. That was it. And it just had them sit back, being able to get that knee going in the correct position, and then to be able to jump properly. So that's where the zone 1 comes in. Then in the zone 2, now they've mastered that. Now we can go over some quick response. Now we can do some type of repeat, but still always going with the stick. So having 2 long jumps in a row, jump, jump, stick. And one of the biggest things is the arms. We harp on getting the arms landing behind you so you can get ready for the next jump.
Well, that's good. And then you progress to, what would the orange category be then?
Now we're in zone 3 area.
Yep.
So now the zone 3, which we tend to do that last month of our program with our high school kids, college kids. Now we're getting into the bounding, to the double leg landing, to the long jump. Jump to the left, jump back, double leg, jump out. That zone 3 area.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's more of a quick. We want to get quick off that ground and obviously make sure that they're landing properly.
And so kind of the volume that you put with that, what I wrote down in my notes was that, 12 to 30 reps, 16 to 30 reps in the green category, 3 to 6 sets. Yellow was kind of 18 to 24 with 3 to 6 sets. Orange is 10 to 20 reps with 2 to 4 sets. And then,
correct.
And then the red, I think it was 4 to 10 with 1 to 2. And obviously, you're not just spending all your time in one zone and you're going from green to yellow to orange to red. There's some mixture there. But you're also, you're color coding it so that there's a visual alert that if you're in the red,
right,
we got to slow this down. We got to make sure we do it right, and that we got to control the exercise selection as well as the total volume.
Absolutely, and like we said earlier, we're visual learners, mm-hmm. And once you can see that, once you're programming it out, but then you're seeing it. Oh, now I'm doing contrast training. I'm loading them up, and now I'm going to unload them, and then now we're in the red. We can't do as many. So I think, Adam did a tremendous job with that, especially working under, House Joe Ken, that's I feel was, a game changer in that program. I know House credited him for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Joe's very instrumental in he's not the first one, but he's a guy that really highlighted it, the athletic position, and really focusing on it, and then progressing through like that. I couldn't agree with you more. But we end these shows with some resources here. Give us, the best piece of coaching advice you ever received.
One of the best coaching advices that we give to our interns is, how many hats can you wear? How durable are you? We had one of our interns that's done a great job with us. He goes and coaches the college program, and then he can go coach the middle school program. And then after the middle school program, he can go coach adults. Right. A lot of the young coaches come out and they're like, I just want to coach high school kids and be great at that. Well, that's good, but I need more from you.
Sure.
Not able to coach, college, coach middle school, coach adults. Now, how good are you at writing programs? How good are you at Excel? Music. Can you make a great playlist? Little as those things are, they add a problem. Mm-hmm. When we're going nonstop for 90 minutes and there's no music, then the kids, they'll lose that focus right away. Right. So it's how many hats can you wear? And how, to our program, I want you to be indispensable to our program. Once you did an internship here, I want you to be able to get a job, and not just a job because you're coach, but because you can handle multiple things.
Sure. And we've benefited. We've had a former intern from Reach Your Potential training here. Dan Vega did a great job for us. And went on, I think he just took a job with the Cardinals, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Doing a good job there. So what about give us a book inside the profession and one outside the profession.
So one that I recommended to our staff, and then we had a staff meeting with, was John Gordon, the Carpenter.
Yep.
And I just felt it was an amazing book because he just pointed out 3 things that could hit home in any aspect of business that you do. And, caring, getting to know your athletes. We're in the business of people. We have to make them, it's not just a number. Right now we have 270 athletes that are in our winter program. Right. But my coaches are in charge, of those time slots. I want you to know their name. I want you to know their sport. I want you to know their position. I want you to know their school. Right. So you can develop that relationship with them, that they can trust you, and that you can know, all right, you're going to go up and weight because I know that you can handle that weight. Because we developed that relationship.
Absolutely.
And I just felt like that book, man, I recommend it to everyone to read it. It's a quick read, easy read, and I've read all John Gordon's books, and that's definitely one that I recommend to everyone out there.
Yeah, he's got some good ones. I mean, The Seed and the One Word and shoot, he's got a ton of them. They're all
Energy Bus.
Energy Bus, yeah. What's the football one? I can't remember the football one. What was the training camp? Yeah, that's right. That's what it is. So they're a great author and very applicable to what we do. What about an app? Is there an app that you guys use there?
I think one, that we use is GroupMe that I would recommend. And that is, we have 8 people on staff right now. So to text 8 different people or have a group text, I'm not a fan of that.
Right.
So having the GroupMe, I feel like gets all the coaches on the same page where we could just, text each other or, get everyone there. And then workflow has been huge. Now as Adam has taken on another role, that he can still be able to work from home and make sure that we're all on the same page. Yeah. So, those 2 apps are definitely ones that I recommend for more of the business side of it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, that's, you guys, I mean, I know you've read the book that I wrote as well, but I mean, the managerial side of what we do allows us to do what we love to do, which is the technician part.
The coaching's the easy part. That's the easy part.
That's no doubt.
Yeah.
What about a website that you recommend?
Like I said, I'm a big visual learner, so I love the NSCA where I can just go on there and watch, the lectures. I feel like they do a great job putting the lectures up on there. So, going right there and I think that's the website that I would recommend.
No, I agree with you. And they do a fantastic job. Well, we're gonna make sure we link up. This coach's guide to jump training comes out, I think February 22nd, right?
Yeah, February 22nd.
It comes out February 22nd. So this goes up around that time, and we'll make sure to link it up. But what's some ways that people can stay up with Ripped and yourself and just kind of continue to follow what you got going on?
We do a great job on social media. So Instagram, Twitter, Facebook are the big three. IGotRipped.com, so I got RYPT, and then our website, www.igotRipped.com. So those are the, to stay in touch with us, and definitely we have some good stuff on Instagram.
Absolutely. These guys are, they're out quite a bit speaking as well, and so I would highly encourage everybody listening to go out and attend one of these events that they're speaking at, because both Bobby and Adam do a fantastic job, and what I know as the guys behind the products and behind the speaking and all that is that there's two guys that tremendously care both about the athletes that they work with and the profession in and of itself. And so, man, I appreciate what you guys do, how you do it. And, man, thanks for coming on the show, buddy.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me.
That's it for this episode of Iron Game Chalk Talk. Thanks to this week's guest as well as our sponsors for bringing this episode to you for free. Make sure to check out ronmckeefery.com, where you can join our mailing list, find the show notes, including all the links and resources mentioned, and information about Coach McKeefery's other products. While you are there, please join Coach McKeefery in the comments section thanking our guest for sharing. If you haven't subscribed to Iron Game Chalk Talk on YouTube or iTunes yet, make sure to do so. Comments, ratings, and reviews are always welcome. Coach McKeefery can be found on Twitter at @RMcKeefery, on Facebook and YouTube at /Ron.McKeefery. That's it for this week. Be sure to check back next week for another great episode of Iron Game Chalk Talk.